Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest in our series of Friends with Benefits, the Provider series. This is episode 3, I think, now. So for those of you that are new, every 2 weeks we're speaking to an amazing provider of benefits to the UK market, sometimes beyond that as well, and basically quizzing them and understanding a bit more about their product. So this week, absolutely delighted that we're joined by Chris, and Chris is from Hertility. So Chris will go in a lot of detail about Hertility and the products on offer there, which I'm super excited to hear about. I think it's really topical, and really excellent subject. By way of introductions, for those of you that are regular, joiners to this webinar, you'll know who I am. So I'm Carl, obviously head of marketplace here at Ben, and I'll be answer sort of shaping the beginning bit of this webinar, but then also I'll field the questions at the end. When it comes to the questions at the end, so feel free to ask any questions as you go along. There's a questions tab in the bottom right hand corner. Feel free to write them in there. I will then choose the nicer questions at the end for Chris. As you know, I won't. I'll pick all of them. Let's be mean. Let's pick some challenging ones for him. Feel free to write your questions in there. I'll field those to Chris at the end, and then hopefully, we can get across all of your questions at the end of the webinar. I've got a stinking cold, so I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let Chris introduce himself, talk through the agenda and his slides for today. So, Chris, thanks for joining, and over to you.
Thank you, Carl. And I believe I've looked out today. I'm really sorry that you're feeling so under the weather, but I've heard that you talk normally for about 10 or 15 minutes on these things, but you're going to leave the remainder of it to me this time. So thank you very much. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. Really appreciate you all taking the time out of what is no doubt a busy last day of September. By way of introduction, my name is Chris Morford. I'm the Director of Sales at Hertility. Me and my team are very much focused on our corporate partnerships and commercial partnerships. So we work with employers to introduce benefits, as well as working with a number of different partners and intermediaries in terms of the delivery of that, including the wonderful Ben as part of that provision. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about all things Hertility and why there is such a need for Hertility in and around workplaces up and down the country. What are the benefits to you as an employer, as well as the benefits to your colleagues? And then also a little bit around the options around into implementing something like Hertility through our great partnership with Ben. We're going to have loads of time for questions at the end, I hope. And if there are any questions that we're unable to answer today, then I'm more than happy to connect with any of you at the end of this call or after this call. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email. To start things off, to get us in the mood and just to set the scene a little bit, I just would love to share with you our brand video, which is now going to play.
This is a woman. She has a body. Her body has been revered for millennia, but never studied properly. Ever. Not like men's bodies, not by medicine, not by science. Her body is too mysterious, too complex, too hormonal. In pain? Pain is normal. Oh, it really hurts. Take a pill. Irregular periods? Go on the pill. Your periods have stopped? Try a different pill. Want a baby? You're too young to worry about fertility. Have fun. Any babies yet? Don't wait too long. Still trying? Silly girl, you left it too late. Were you having too much fun? Just relax. Have you tried not thinking about it? Frustrated? Don't cry. Why are you so angry? Time of the month? Ooh, someone's hormonal. Yes, I am hormonal. We're all hormonal. Our hormones keep us alive. They make us feel alive. They allow us to create life. Our hormones, they impact our stress, our skin, our weight, our emotions, our whole bodies. yet we know so little about them. Now is our time. Time to demystify our bodies. Time to know exactly what's happening under our skin. Time to get answers backed by science, not just hope. Fertility. Science. Meet life.
So that gives you a bit of an insight into who Hertility are and what we do. But I think one thing I just want to call out right from the very, very start here is the fact that we've got two men having a conversation about women's health. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic. I start out by saying that I come from an organization that is 85% or over 85% female. We have 100% female founded. We've got 3 incredibly inspiring founders who I'll mention in a short moment. But in that environment, you get such incredible diversity of thought, which I'm incredibly proud of to be part of. Also, I think it's really important that men are part of the conversation. We need to change the dial. We need to shift people's thoughts and emotions around women's health, and ultimately having 2 people of the opposite sex be engaged in this conversation, I think is really important. And I think it's something that I'm really determined to try and raise more. And finally, I'd also just add that I, as a father, one of my personal missions is if I can change the workplace by the time my 3-year-old daughter gets into the workplace and make it a much more better and more supportive place for women, for women's health, closing the gender pay gap, closing the gender health gap, and so on and so forth, then I've done my bit for my family as part of that journey as well. So there's a whole load of reasons why we're here, and hopefully that kind of puts some meat on the bones around that. But in terms of Hertility, who we are, what we do, Hertility was founded around 5 years ago by 3 incredible women. Dr. Helen O'Neill, who is a world-renowned professor and lecturer in reproductive and molecular genetics, and her twin sister, Deirdre O'Neill, who is a dual qualified lawyer. They're a bit of a power family, I have to say. And then also Dr. Natalie Gatroy, who is an ovarian biologist who is an expert in bridging that gap between clinical research and practice. And the 3 of them as a trinity have created Hertility. And to date, we've supported over 500,000 women and engaged with over 500,000 women through our services. We've got an incredible reach through our social media channels. For those of you that happen to find yourself doom scrolling on Instagram late in the evening, you may have come across us through that method as well. And we're on a mission to empower women to understand more about their bodies, to be able to check in on their biological clock, to get long sought after answers for why do I feel this way? What's this pain? Why are my periods irregular? Why am I not able to conceive, and so on? But then also to try and make informed decisions alongside their partner or as an individual, empowering people from all different communities, whether they're in a heterosexual relationship, whether they're thinking about a solo parenting journey, or they're from the LGBTQ+ community. And we've got a really great, as I say, we've supported over 500,000 women to date through our direct consumer arm. And now we're starting to work with more and more employers as they see the importance of changing the dynamic within the workplace, really trying to improve diversity within that workplace and retain colleagues for longer. And so we're working with the likes of businesses big and small, from the likes of Channel 4, who are our first reproductively responsible certified client, Edelman, JC&Co, LVMH, Lincolnshire Rape Crisis, who are a regional charity with 40 women up in Lincolnshire. We're there to support those businesses, and having a really big impact on women within those workplaces. And the problem is real. So the problem is both at a national level, international level, and also at a workplace level. In the UK alone, 1 in 3 women have experienced a severe reproductive health symptom in the last 12 months. And if you look around your office, over 30% of all those women have gone through the debilitating pain potentially of something like endometriosis, which affects 1 in 10 women, or indeed PCOS, again, that affects 1 in 10 women. And they've gone through this through a silent struggle. And they might have turned to their medical practitioners to try and get those answers and support. And often are delayed or have doors shut on them. Equally, 1 in 6 couples are affected by infertility, and that's getting worse, not better. It was 1 in 7, it's on its way to 1 in 5. And that can have massive repercussions on not just women, but also couples that are going through that journey. And trying to get those answers can be almost nigh and impossible unless you've been in a heterosexual couple trying to conceive for at least 12 months. Now, 12 months at the age of 36, 37, with people having children later and later in life, is a long time when it comes to your biological clock. It's also a long time to go through the heartache of not knowing whether or not you could start a family. And so we believe it's important that people can get those answers quickly and then can act quickly and understand. But also, rather than waiting till that point, how can we empower people earlier and sooner with knowledge about their own bodies so they can make informed decisions about their lives? And there are over 750,000 women currently on a wait list on the NHS to speak to a gynecologist. And there'll be people with debilitating symptoms, things like endometriosis and PCOS, potentially on fertility journeys that simply can't get those answers. Now, to work through that backlog of 750,000 people takes a long, long time. And people are just sat there without knowing or in pain, not getting those answers. And we believe that's a bit of a travesty that we need to address. Going down kind of to a workplace level, we've actually only last week launched not a white paper, but a red paper. And this was done in collaboration with a company called Riley, who offer period products, organic period products that are available in workplaces as well as at home. And the subtitle of this particular report was The Absolute State of the Workplace. And it's a real deep dive and a look into some of the challenges that women are experiencing on a day-to-day basis within workplaces. And also some of the reasons that people are simply desperate to find out more information so they can make some of those informed decisions. So 88% of employees, for example, right now would consider changing jobs looking for things like fertility benefits, and would look to different new employers and look to their benefits program as a key reason why they would make that move. And I assume that is why you're here today, looking at this, and also why you're engaged with Ben in the first place. And only last week I was at the Women in Work Summit in London, which was a really eye-opening summit. And one of the final sessions on the day was a panel. A panel all about Gen Z and their interpretations of the workplace and the challenges that they're facing. On that panel, the panel was led by the CEO of Channel 4, Alex Mann, and on that panel were 3 Gen Z individuals. And one of the questions that came up was around the concerns around family planning and starting a family alongside a career for Gen Z colleagues. And every single person said, look, it causes real anxiety and real worry for us. We don't know how we're going to be able to afford it. We don't know how we're going to be able to plan for these things. How do you make that balance between your career and starting a family? So this is a real challenge for individuals who from that generation. And these are the future of our workplaces. But yet the final person that spoke was actually from Channel 4. And she, without being prompted or indeed paid off by me, actually mentioned Hertility as one of the things that her employer did that actually gave her the confidence in her own plans and path that she wants to take to balance her career and starting a family, to be able to check in on her own fertility as well as check in on her own hormonal balance. And that was a really eye-opening moment for me, that someone so unprompted would see that such a core part of the one of the ways to kind of alleviate some of that anxiety that they were feeling around life. And one of the things about Hertility is we've done a really great job of building this incredible brand, and we've got, I think, an amazing brand name and brand image. But when people see Hertility, they think fertility, and the two aren't necessarily exclusive. So we're here to support women through every single life stage, whether that's from menstruation all the way through to menopause. So for people like the colleague that at Channel 4 that I spoke about a moment ago, someone that's right at the beginning of their career, wanting to understand about their own personal journeys and where they might sit, but also someone who is struggling with the real challenges of a reproductive health condition. We're also here for people who are looking to start that journey to parenthood from a variety of different backgrounds. One of the big challenges that's out there is that for people who aren't in a heterosexual couple, trying to get access to that support and those answers around their fertility and eligibility to access care like IVF and egg freezing is really, really challenging to get access to. If you're a solo parent that's looking to go on your own personal journey, how can you get the advice and support around those journeys? And so we've got support and expertise to help people, and we do all of this through a diagnostic-led approach. For people who do have children, that postpartum experience has become increasingly important for colleagues and also for employers. Employers are seeing a real challenge in terms of reintegrating people back into the workplace following maternity leave, and they're seeing a high number of women actually leaving the workforce. So what can we do to try and address some of those challenges? Well, one of the things that can help contribute to that is really allowing a great focus on the mother's personal health and well-being. So much focus is put on little Bob, as rightly so, with a newborn, but actually we believe it's really important to also check in on mum and make sure, because her hormonal balance will be absolutely very, very different to the one before she gave birth. And so being able to check in on that and understand that balance and understand where someone is and take action in terms of nutrition, in terms of lifestyle, and so on and so forth, can really get someone into the best possible physical, personal shape to reintegrate within the workforce and feel confident walking through the doors on that first day post-maternity leave. And then finally, also we're here to support women who are experiencing symptoms of perimenopause, the menopause, and early onset menopause. We have advanced practitioners that are there to support people and talk people through some of those challenges that people experience, even to the point where our practitioners are registered to prescribe things like HRT and thyroxine so people can get that direct help as quickly as possible. So we've created a healthcare system. This healthcare system takes a truly diagnostic-led approach. We're not talking about an app with a generic chatbot. We're not talking about just a whole load of content that's there for people. We're talking about a way to access truly diagnostic and personalized care. It's probably one of the most personalized benefits you could ever implement. So it all starts out with an online health assessment, where it's like a conversation you've never had with a GP or gynecologist. It's going to go into a lot of detail. And the answers to that form a really key part of our medical diagnostic approach. The next stage is an at-home hormone blood test kit. It comes through your door within 2 working days, and on the 3rd day of your cycle, or indeed any day of the month, if you're on a hormone contraceptive, for example, you do a finger prick blood test and bleed into a tiny little vial. It's really easy, really simple. And if someone's a bit worried about it, we actually offer a complimentary call with one of our customer success team who will talk you through it. They'll have you doing star jumps and running your hands under warm water and various other things in order to make sure that that blood draw is as easy as possible. You'll send that off just through the Royal Mail, and within 10 working days, you're going to have a full doctor's written report that's going to go into a huge amount of detail all about your personal health and your hormonal health. It's going to give you actionable next steps. It's going to combine the answers to the online health assessment and the blood test to give you a really holistic view of your well-being. It's not just bits of data on a piece of paper. And then beyond that, we also have teleconsultation services that are industry leading. We've got some of the best gynecologists in the country available at the fingertips of individuals through either a mobile app or through the web. We've also got access to nutritionists, counsellors, menopause specialists, fertility nurses, all there available for people as and when they need it, and avoid those big long waiting lists through traditional health means. We've also launched our app, which also features menstrual cycle tracking, as well as being your gynecologist in your pocket. That's newly available via the App Store. So if anyone hasn't seen that yet, please do download it and engage. And then beyond this, you're entered into a community of care. This community of care might be with one of our partner clinics with regards to IVF and egg freezing journey, where we have warm handovers and support for people through there, as well as our community of care through the hundreds of thousands of women that are engaging with Hertility on so far, and that growing number, and you'll be a part of that community. And one of the things I mentioned earlier was around these diagnostic approach for reproductive health conditions. So for those individuals who have been going through a 9-year wait on average to get a diagnosis for something like endometriosis, we've been able to give indicative diagnosis for things like that within 9 days. That's life-changing for an individual. And so we can give indications of diagnoses for over 21 different gynecological conditions. For an employer's perspective, the impact is pretty clear. So we have done a lot of research and looked at research papers and so on and so forth, where we've looked at the impact of reproductive health conditions and fertility journeys and their impact on people's productivity within the workplace. Absence for going to appointments, absence for being ill and having to take sick leave is definitely a core component of this, but presenteeism is the real big factor here. Women who are turning up for work every single day to try and give their best, but they're in the debilitating pain of endometriosis or PCOS, or they're going through the heartache of an IVF or egg freezing journey and they just can't get the support that they need, or whether they're just simply trying to conceive and just don't know why they can't conceive and they've got a mental hardship of having to deal with that. All the way through to women who are experiencing symptoms of menopause and potentially looking to leave the workforce, as so many incredibly talented individuals are doing, which is taking away from that boardroom representation, because you've got people at the absolute pinnacles of their career with a fountain of knowledge just walking out the door because they just can't get the support and recognition that they need on things like with things like the menopause. So we've actually built a calculator, and I'd love for any of you, if you want to get in touch with us and you'd like us to run the numbers for your business, we absolutely can do this. But we've created a calculator that helps estimate the cost of reproductive health to your business. It looks at the number of days of productivity lost, as well as the number of colleagues that are exiting the business as a result of reproductive health symptoms. In this example, an organization of around 1,000 employees, 50% female representation with an average salary of £50,000 is losing, on average, just short of £1.5 million worth of productivity every year. That's an unspoken about cost. It's not on a balance sheet anywhere. It's not on a P&L, but it's something that's genuinely happening within organizations today. And we believe that by implementing fertility services, you can have a real positive impact on something like this. Not to mention the impact of implementing something like Hertility and taking a diagnostic and proactive approach can have on things like future private medical insurance premiums. We know that PMI premiums are skyrocketing right now. But if you can reduce the number of people that are having to call on them because you're intervening early, you're taking action early with progressive symptoms and progressive conditions, you can have a real positive impact on future private medical premiums. So we've created a certification. There's a couple of different ways you can engage with fertility, but our core one is this reproductively responsible certification. It's made up of 3 key pillars. It's made up of access to our reproductive health screening, so our testing kits and our clinical services. They're fully funded by the employer as part of our package. We also run CPD accredited educational workshops where we're breaking the taboo around reproductive health, menopause, fertility journeys, and we're educating colleagues. We're educating men and women, and we're educating everyone and anyone within an organization so they can be better, more empathetic colleagues, so they can be better leaders, so they can support and they can recognize some of the challenges that individuals are going through. Not only that, but it'll also help individuals in their own personal lives. So it'll help people have better conversations with their wives, with their daughters, with their aunties, whatever it may be. And then also we're offering support on policy. So we have policy templates that you can lift and adapt into your own organization so that to make sure that when we're not in the room, when you're not in the room, people know where to turn and know what support the organization is there to offer. And we believe that these 3 things are all so intrinsically linked, because we know that if you run education and you raise awareness around these topics, the first question that comes out is, what about me? How do I find out about my own personal situation? And so that's why that connects so well in with the screening and the clinical services with the education, and it all comes together to be to allow you to be certified as a reproductively responsible employer. Through Ben, you can access that reproductively responsible certification. So please do contact the team at Ben if you're interested in that, or speak to us directly, and we can loop them in. In addition to that, we're also able to make fertility services through a variety of different bundles of our testing and clinical services through their Flexi Benefit and Flexi Wallet offering. And then finally, you can also turn on access to fertility through the Thanks Ben marketplace. That's for those who would like to offer or promote a small discount on our testing only. The creme de la creme is definitely the reproductively responsible certification, and whereas the marketplace is more of a kind of a stepping stone perhaps on your journey. Before I leave you, or before we jump to questions, a short video and then some questions, I just wanted to make you aware of various different ways in which you could potentially launch something like Hertility and when best to do it. Obviously, you'll have your benefit cycles and your benefit years and so on and so forth, but trying to tie them in alongside some of these really key awareness days within the calendar is super important. And it's a really great way to take a stand and show that you're making a difference by aligning with some of these key awareness days. So if you'd like a copy of this or a copy of the report, please do get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to share those and make a plan for how we can help support you with one of these different event days within the calendar. So just to summarize and close off, what I'd like to do is just play you a short video, which is a love letter to the workplace. And I think it just summarizes what we talked about today very clearly.
Dear future workplace,
we've been waiting for you for so long.
As women, we have come a long way and we have fought hard for positions in workplaces that value our contribution, respect our ambition and listen to our voices.
But we still need your help.
We hope that you can change offices and boardrooms into spaces of inclusivity and understanding.
That conversations around reproductive health can become commonplace.
We dream of a workplace in which there are no more hidden tears.
No need to sneak off to appointments.
No shame or embarrassment around the basic biological functions of our bodies.
Where employees understand their hormones and fertility and know where to turn when something doesn't feel quite right.
Productivity is no longer hindered by debilitating symptoms.
And proactively understanding our bodies allows us to plan for our careers.
Will you be somewhere we won't have to hide our pregnancy plans in fear of jeopardising our professional opportunities?
Will you celebrate those who are expecting and those who don't know what to expect?
Will you recognise that becoming a parent is a promotion in itself, in all its sleepless glory?
Dear future of the workplace, we can't wait to meet you.
Love, women everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. That was great. Super interesting, and I think I certainly learned something there. So thanks ever so much for doing that. You've articulated so well, Chris, that we've got no questions at the moment, but I'm not going to let you off because I have questions.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to chuck into a few of mine whilst we give others an option to put those into the system.
Sure.
So the educational workshops that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Who's that really designed for? Is it designed for all employees? Is it designed for HR professionals or managers? I guess everyone can get benefit from those, right?
Yeah, for sure. It really is designed for everyone. I find it really interesting, for example, that just in my household, right, I am now going to my wife and telling her things about her own reproductive health and body that she didn't know. Just because of obviously the benefits of working where I work. But equally, we've been working with some really large FTSE 100 companies, and we've run our education, one of our education sessions, and we've had people come up to us afterwards, men come up to us afterwards. One guy was in his mid-50s who came up to us afterwards and said, "Thank you very much for running that session. I can't believe I'm in my mid-50s and I've got a wife at home who is menopausal and I've got a daughter who is suffering from endometriosis. And I can't believe it's only taken me till now to understand actually what that means." So it's they're very much designed for everyone. We actually do cover women and men's hormonal health as part of those sessions. A little tidbit for you, Carl. Women have a hormone cycle. On average, it is about 28 days, although only I think 13% of women actually have a 28-day cycle. Men have a cycle of about 24 hours. We're simple beings in comparison, but it also means it's the exact reason why you'll have certain parts of the day where you'll feel much more full of energy and much more drive than in other parts. Perhaps a bad day for you, Carl, personally, to kind of raise that feeling full of cold, but you get the idea that there's hormone cycles dictate everything. They dictate our skin, our weight, our mood, things like anxiety, mental health repercussions are all connected to our hormonal health. So we're trying to educate and build that awareness. But also within people's teams, as a manager and as a leader, you're going to start to understand, okay, why is perhaps someone's going through a fertility journey? They might not want to talk about it. But the fact that you've had education sessions and the whole workforce has been in, and you as a leader and they as a colleague have been in that session, you'll feel comforted to know that at least my boss will understand, even if I choose or don't choose to tell them. Yeah. And because some people are really open and like to have conversations about this, others are a little bit more introvert, and we've got to be respectful of both of those. But by taking a stance and having these sessions, I think you do at least break down those barriers to allow people to have proper conversations if they choose to.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. And, I'm not speaking for all men, but certainly I'm perhaps a little bit ignorant to some of this, so, it's important to educate ourselves, right? And I think that, I think I've been in the benefits industry for 24 years, and it's only really over the last maybe 8 to 10 years we've started talking about these sorts of things in the workplace properly. So, all for it. I'm like you. I'm a father of a little girl who's slightly older at 7, and I want her to grow up in a world where, she doesn't have to worry about this sort of stuff, or at least worry about talking to people about this sort of stuff. So,
exactly. I mean, I often say, look, it's even now, it's 2024, 51% of the world's female as population is female.
Yeah,
to be able to have a conversation about periods, like, it's not hard. Just educate ourselves and just be better. Like, we can do it. It's all part of a natural part of our bodies, and I think we should be able to have those conversations and support people in a much better way.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we've been chatting, we've had a question come in. Yeah. From Stacey. So, what is the cost to the business for Hertility if they wanted to become a reproductively responsible employer?
Great question, Stacey. Thank you very much for joining today. So we have our pricing model scales depending on the size of organization that you have. So what we don't do is just do a per employee per month sort of model. And we don't think it's really appropriate for the way that our offering works. Our offering is, we want to make sure that every pound that you invest into Hertility is actually being used and is accessed by someone that really needs it. So what we do is we have a credit-based model that is basically built on an estimated uptake rate within an organization of your size. We couple that with our education and with our policy provision, and that builds your package. So in short, Stacey, I don't have a number for you that I can just share right now because I don't necessarily know the size of your organization and so on. But I would really love the opportunity to have a chat with you to kind of look at what a package would look like. Please feel free to get in touch. My email address is on the bottom of the screen right now. And I'd love to talk through the different options for you.
Amazing. And another quick question here, Chris. So data protection. So how do you guarantee that all data is protected? Certainly sensitive user data, for example.
Yeah. So we're an ISO 27001 accredited organization. We're a CQC accredited as well. We're one of the most regulated. We often joke we're probably one of the most regulated startups around. And so we've taken this very, very seriously, as you can imagine, with a dual qualified lawyer at the helm, coupled with two doctors. I think it's absolutely imperative that we take that seriously. One of the things I would say is that when we implement Hertility with employers, what we do is we try to make a really clear distinction between someone engaging with Hertility and that being their personal data relationship with us versus the employer having to share data with us in order to facilitate the relationship. Because it's really important for an individual, for example, we always suggest and almost insist that when they set up their Hertility account, it's not using their work email address. They set it up using their personal email address because it's medical information and medical records that are going to be issued to that address. And it's important that that person has total autonomy and freedom to take those records with them wherever they go in the future. So in short, very highly regulated. We've got a huge amount of security, and we take data security incredibly seriously. But also, we try to make it as easy as possible on the employer-employee relationship and the relationship with us, so that rolling something out like Hertility is actually very, very simple and very, very easy.
Awesome. So we're out of questions, Chris. I wanted to apologise to everyone for sniffing my way through this last bit of the presentation. Chris has kindly took the lead from very early on, which was, like I said, very kind. So thanks for doing that, Chris. Thanks for an amazing presentation. Chris's details have been on the screen for a while now, so hopefully those of you that want them have scribbled them down or taken a screenshot. If not, feel free to reach out to us and we can put you in touch. But yeah, thanks so much to everyone for joining. And again, special thanks to Chris. Really enjoyed that session. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, everyone.